Hello and welcome to another episode of the Agency Leadership Podcast. I'm Chip Griffin.
And I'm Gini Dietrich.
And we're here to talk to you today about BS. Absolute total BS. No?
Which you can't actually say the word because we will get flagged.
That's what we've heard,
I just
at least.
learned that.
I may or may not be right, but that's what I've heard. So since we're putting this up as videos now, we're going to watch our language. We'll be very prim and proper, as we always are.
To be fair, I never swear on this stuff anyway, so.
No, I don't either. Now, if I'm off camera and not recording, that's different. But
right, yeah, right.
But yes, I'm. You know, that's the advantage of having done media training and provided media training and all. You learn to say certain things and not say other things, and particularly having been in politics, I tend to be really careful,
especially for
my words.
Right.
Because when you give political interviews,
but we are. You cannot,
no,
and sound bites.
Yes, which it shocks
we
me
are
how
going
many
to talk
people
about
in
BS.
how many people in the PR space are not good at being able to speak succinctly. And I've had it happen on my interview podcast where I just have guests who go on and on. I'm like, you provide media advice to people. How can you not know that you shouldn't talk for 4 minutes without coming up for air?
Well, I think they know, right? Because they teach it, but teaching it and doing it are two different things.
True.
It's challenging. It takes practice. And if you're not doing interviews a lot.
Absolutely. No, and I'm still not perfect at it, but I've gotten better at it over the years because you just have to make an effort to focus on it, right? And the advantage of having hosted podcasts for so long is that I get a chance to hone some of these skills, and I've moved away from saying every other word and the others.
Yes.
I still use them more than I should, but
yes. Well, we all do. But you know what's funny is I've been transcribing videos. I have not been transcribing. I've been reading transcriptions of videos for a client, and oh man, they're bad. I read these transcripts and it is ums and ahs every other word. It's really challenging.
Then use a different service that doesn't transcribe those. Ooh.
Do they? Is there?
Yeah,
I'm using Temi. I didn't.
There we go. So generally speaking, these services can be set up to either include or exclude them.
I did not know that. All right. Thank you.
So
see, look at that. I learned something on our podcast. I will do that.
Oh, thank God.
Because it will make me less, make me less angry because I get angry. I'm like, rah!
I do not want to see you angry. So speaking about angry, I think that's a great segue into the topic today. Because it was an angry tweet that I saw last week from David C. Baker, who is an agency consultant and a general expertise advisor. He's got lots of great content. He's got some good books and good podcast, Two Bobs with Blair Enns, puts out lots of great content. But he had one that sort of made me want to react. So why don't we talk about that? Shall we, Ginny?
Sure, let's talk about it.
We control this show, so this is a tweet that he put out last week, which is, "What's this BS I see everywhere? Stop chasing the money and start chasing the passion." So I guess I take away from that he thinks you should be chasing the money.
I don't necessarily know that that's what he meant, but that is also what I took away from that.
It may just mean that he doesn't like focusing on passion over money. I'm not sure, but in any case, regardless of what he thinks, we're going to tell you what we think, because that's why you tuned in to listen to this podcast, hopefully. If not, why did you tune into this podcast? You do know that it's Ginny and I talking about what we think. Anyway, okay. So enough of that.
Whew.
So what do you think about this? Should you focus on money or passion or something else?
Yes, to both. I don't think that you should solely focus on passion, because there are plenty of starving artists out there in the world. But I also don't think that you should chase the money. And I think I've been fairly vocal about the fact that the last couple of years I've been pretty miserable in my job. And one of the things I talk about, especially with agency owners, is, did you create yourself a job, or did you create yourself a business that can sustain without you? And for the last couple of years, I definitely had built myself a job, not a business that could sustain without me. And it was because I was chasing the money. And so I think there is something to be said for doing what you're passionate about, but also making sure that you can make a living at it.
I think that makes sense. I like to think of it as having sort of a Venn diagram. So if you think about it in terms of three circles, and you've got one circle of, what your passion is, what you're excited about. You get one circle about where there's a market for that. And then you've got one circle where it's what you're good at. Because what you're good at and what you're passionate about aren't always the same thing. Hopefully there's an overlap, though, amongst all three of those in the center of that Venn diagram, and that's where you will find success, because that's when you know that you're going to wake up every day doing something that you like to do, which will make you better at it. You will do something that you're good at, which will give good results to clients, which means they'll want to stick around. And there's a market for it, which means you'll actually get paid for all of that, because that's important too.
So one of the clients that I work with, I adore her. She's one of my favorite people. She is an incredible artist. She's incredibly creative. She's very smart, and she's built a branding agency. And, we've gone through the process in the last few months of getting her website redone and copy and messaging and all those kinds of things. And we've been talking a lot recently about how to combine that with her fine arts and this ability to, some of her paintings I actually bought one because I want to have her part of my office, but also because she's incredibly creative. And so we've talked about how do we combine that with her business, because she has a business that allows for that, because they do branding work, they do design work, they do, those are the kinds of things that they do. So she has found a way to take her passion and build an agency around it, which I think is phenomenal.
Yeah, and look, at the end of the day, if you're not doing something that you like to do, what's the point of having your own business, right?
Right.
There is absolutely no point in taking all of the stress and risk of having a business. If you wake up,
stress and risk, what are you talking about?
If you wake up every day and you say, look, I've got money in the bank, but I'm miserable. I don't think you should do that even in a job if you can avoid it. And obviously there are times where we all have to do what we need to do to make ends meet. But if you can at all avoid it, you shouldn't be doing that. It makes no sense. And if the last 3 months hasn't taught us anything, hopefully it has taught us that, life is short. There's a lot of uncertainty, and we should focus on, how to make ourselves successful, but enjoy ourselves while we're doing it.
Yeah, totally agree. Yes, because it's funny you say that, because I think probably about 2 years ago, maybe 3 now, there was this whole conversation online about work-life balance and working 24/7 and figuring out, where to do this and where to do that. And I kind of always took, people would say, well, I love my job so much that it doesn't feel like work, which I think is baloney. Not the word I can't say. I do. I think that's baloney, because I think, especially for what we do for a living, when you're in front of your computer screen all the time, our brains are not situated for that. So if you consider that painting is part of your job, or you consider that writing is part of your job, or creating something is part of your job, then okay, maybe you are working 24/7. But this whole idea that we love our jobs so much that it doesn't matter if we don't make any money, and it doesn't matter if we don't have work-life balance because it's our passion, I think that is also baloney, and that sort of goes on the other side of this. So I think, to your point, I really like that Venn diagram idea where you find right there in the middle where it fits. And it's okay if you take a break every once in a while.
Yeah, you can absolutely take a break. And I guess, I think that I'm not a big fan of the term work-life balance, because to me, when people talk about work-life balance, to me, it usually means that they're unhappy with their work piece. Now, you don't have to necessarily say, I enjoy it so much that, that I do it 24/7. And I certainly do. I skew more in that direction, particularly with what I'm doing now.
For sure.
I actually am focused on the things that I like to do. I finally, it's only taken me until I'm almost 50 years old to figure out that, what I really like is the intersection of business and communications. And so, trying to figure out how I can pull that all together has been what I've been doing over the last year and a half, and I absolutely love it. And hopefully it will be successful over the long term, and I can keep doing it. But you need to be seeking those things out. It doesn't mean that I don't still take on projects that I would rather not do. We all have to do it from time to time, but you need to make sure that you've got that intersection of things, because otherwise, you'll just be miserable, and that will show through in the quality of the work that you're doing, particularly as an agency.
When I wrote my first book, my dad said to me, gosh, you've always been so passionate about writing and writing a book, and I just never knew you'd actually make a living at it. And he's kind of right, because had I done that right out of college, I wouldn't have made a living at it. And I had the advantage of being able to blog for several years before I wrote my first book. So I have been able, at that point had been able to create a living out of my passion. And I think that those are the kinds of things that we can be thinking about. Creation, writing, painting, whatever it happens to be, communication, the intersection of business and communications, whatever it happens to be that you're passionate about, you certainly can build an agency around that. And I would even say, I agree that there are cases where you will take projects or work that you don't necessarily want to do, but you can do it. And it's maybe not your passion, but it allows you to pay the bills so that you can focus on the other stuff that you enjoy.
Right. And it's just making sure that that's in the right balance, because if you get to a point where that's all of the work that you're taking on, well, then you may need to reevaluate that Venn diagram and figure out, what the right mix really is and what your business is all about. But the beauty of the work that we all do, or most of us do who are listening, is that we have flexibility, and so we can continue to adapt and make adjustments. It's not like we've sunk millions of dollars into capital equipment, and so we've got earth movers and bulldozers and all this kind of stuff that we're stuck with, and so we need to figure out how to make it work. In the business where we're using our intellectual property to advise clients on communications or business or whatever, we can make those pivots quite easily. And so you don't want to be doing it every day, but you do want to make sure that you're making those adjustments along the way so that you can have that intersection of success and happiness.
And Tulip agrees with you. And you notice she has achieved her big girl bark.
That is,
now that she's 8 months old.
That is definitely a big girl bark there.
But she agrees.
That is the kind of client I would not want to take on. I would prefer not to. But I'm not a dog person, so unfortunately,
you're not an animal person. I still think about your beta fish fighting one another, but that's another story for another time.
Attacking itself.
Oh, did you put a mirror up?
Yeah, it's attacking its reflection. No, there was just one beta fish. If you put two beta fish in there, you'll only end up with one beta fish pretty quickly.
Well, that's what I thought you did.
No. That would be terrible. The mirror is a lot more humane. But for anybody listening, the beta fish was not hurt. The beta fish survived, at least as long as beta fish survive, which is not very long. So,
our beta fish has been alive for how long do they last? Because ours has been alive for a long time.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not an expert in beta fish.
So yours did not survive.
I've never had a beta fish that lasted very long. So.
Oh yeah, it's been here forever. Violet.
I don't even know where you'd get a beta fish these days. I mean, I guess maybe there are still pet stores, right? I don't know.
Yeah, pet store. Yeah.
I remember growing up, we always had pet stores at the mall and that kind of stuff, but now we don't really even have malls. In any case, let's perhaps getting back on track for you listeners. We'll stop talking about beta fish. And so, and this is why I think, and when I work with agency owners, one of the first things that I do is I use my AIM-GET framework, which the A is ambition, because I want to work with owners to figure out what are they trying to achieve. And that's the piece where you really need to understand what is your motivation. And it may be that your motivation is mostly to make as much money as possible and the passion comes second. That's fine. You just need to know that about yourself. Unfortunately, so many agency owners just get into the trap where all they do is chase the money. And particularly in times like this, I mean, I can't tell you how many agency owners have asked me in the last 3 months, what's a recession-proof industry I should go after? Don't do it. First of all, you're too late to that party, as we've said before. But more importantly, you're not going to be excited about it. And if you're sitting there saying, I'm going to go into this industry, I know nothing about them, but I hear that they're doing well, and so I should pursue that business. And they're recession. First of all, nobody's recession-proof because every recession is different. This one's proving it.
Yep.
Things that you would never see evaporate. Restaurants, for example. Normally they take a hit during a recession, but it's in terms of particularly higher end places. Now it's everybody. It's across the board. You don't see that. So, focus on the things that you can do to grow your business and to do the things that you want to do, because that's how you'll end up having more success. Because if you're enthusiastic about something, you're going to want to put the time into it. If you have no passion for the work you're doing, you're going to do the bare minimum to get the checks through the door, and it will show to your clients.
It will absolutely show, and it'll show to your team, and you'll be completely miserable. You know, one of the things that I'm passionate about is food. And so early in my agency's life, we've worked with a lot of celebrity chefs, and we've built their brands for them. That is the worst business. That is the worst business you can do. It's terrible. You work literally 24/7 because they're open nights. So you do your job running your agency, and then you go to events or taking clients or reporters or whatever happens to be to the restaurant. You eat very well, I will say. But they don't pay very much money. They don't pay on time. They nickel and dime you. And this has been across the board. And so finally we had to make a decision inside my agency that even though we loved it and we loved the work, and I mean, we had clients on the Food Network, we did all sorts of, I mean, it was amazing work. But it was the flip side of that, I would say, where, you know, you get taken advantage of, you're nickel and dime to death. You're not paid, if at all, on time. And so you have to make the decision from that perspective too. Are we really passionate about this, but we're not making any money? I can't even make payroll because of it. So, you know, I like the Venn diagram idea because it does have to fit there right in the middle of it.
Yeah, and I think that it all comes down to taking the time to think through your decisions as a business owner. So, stepping up to an even higher level than, is it passion or is it money? It's really just being intentional about the decisions you're making as you grow your business, and figuring out not only which decision you're going to make, but why you're making it, because it's. I think far too often we don't think them through, and if you don't think them through, then you end up with a bad outcome accidentally, and that's not good for anybody.
Right. And then everybody's unhappy, and if you're unhappy, if you have a team, they're unhappy, it just trickles down.
Indeed. But you know what makes me happy? Recording this podcast, because it's fun, it's enjoyable. Gives me a chance to talk to you every week, Jenny.
This is new. You're not normally nice to me. I don't know what to do right now.
Wow. That's harsh. That is harsh. But seriously, I mean, it actually goes to the point, if you're not excited about doing podcasts as a marketing tactic, don't do them, right? I'm excited about doing podcasts. Yeah. I'm excited about having videos out there, which is why we're now making this available through video on YouTube, agencyleadership.tv, if you want to see it.
That was a nice plug. Agencyleadership.tv.
Yes. Takes you right there. Nice and simple and easy.
Amazing.
And you can see
and
this,
I really
plus my regular weekly live streams, or actually multi.
And I really love, for those of you who are listening and not watching, he has this fancy, what's it called? vMix? Is that what it's called?
Stream Deck. Well, vMix is the software, and then I've got a Stream Deck switcher that I use for it. So I've got all sorts of little toys.
And it makes it look like we're on CNN. It's amazing. And we're not. But it looks like we are, so
we're not on CNN?
I love it.
I thought I hijacked the feed, and we're actually going out worldwide, CNN International. Everybody's seeing this right now, because there's no other news in the world today. This is it.
Everybody wants to listen to us.
Yes, absolutely. But we appreciate you listening, and the fact that you've made it through this far means you are a dedicated fan. So drop us a line and tell us what you think, as long as it's nice. We only want nice emails.
You can send the nice ones to me and the mean ones to Chip. That works.
Sure. No, that's fine. I'm used to it.
Okay. Yeah.
But
you have thicker skin than I do.
That's true. Less hair, but thicker skin. Yeah.
Correct.
Well, I think we've taken the show pretty far off the rails now. So let's just bring it into the station. How about that? We'll draw this episode to a close. Follow your passion, but find the money at the same time. Don't think that it's an either or situation. And with that, I'm Chip Griffin.
And I'm Jenny Dietrich.
And it depends.